Hello everyone, my name is Fear Dragon and welcome to another Modest Musings. Today's topic is going to be about the kind of up and coming scene, but not necessarily as much. It's going to be a little bit about the players, but a lot of it's going to be about the tournament scene. Something that, of course, I feel pretty involved in right now. So right now, WCS 2017, as of the time of this recording this, we have had four WCS premier events. Two were in North America, two were in Europe. And we had Challenger and a couple other things that happened online. We also had IEM Shanghai and, like, I guess one or two global events. But for the most part, it has basically been for the WCS system four WCS events, four premier offline events. And that does not take up much time. That is 4 weekends in 52 weeks out of the year. Of course, I'm not really doing it justice. There's like a full week involved of WCS Challenger for each region. So realistically, I guess for a player in, like, say, North America, or for a player in Europe, just WCS alone, assuming you don't get to get voted in for GSL versus the world and all this other stuff, you basically have, I want to say, I guess, 4 weeks of Challenger, like one for each one of the WCS events, and then 4 weekends. So roughly, I would say, I don't know, something like 28 plus maybe another 12 days or something like that, or 16 days. Really not a lot. Really not a lot out of the 365 days in the year. And pro players have to keep themselves busy. They have to justify what they're doing is a viable career, or even just that what they're doing as a part-time thing, if they're in school or they're working, that it's still something worth investing time into. So this is where we get into the online tournament scene, as well as the offline LAN scene for smaller events like Cheesadelphia, Kings of the North, Systrom Gaming LAN. I know that there's a bunch of Norwegian things also, like a bunch of stuff in Europe. But I think that people oftentimes undervalue the importance of that stuff because, especially with the current system, there really aren't a lot of opportunities to kind of rise up and get that experience. Because we talk about things a lot from the perspective of, like, the top level pros and everything. Oh man, there's only so many opportunities, but whatever, you know what? They can train hard and really make the most out of each one of those opportunities. But remember that for the aspiring player, maybe not the player that's at top level, maybe not Snoot or a Laser or Neeb or Cyril or something like that. Maybe it is just the person who's in Grandmaster. They just hit Grandmaster or something, and they want to try and compete a little bit. Yeah, you can play in some of the online stuff that helps out a little bit, but getting that kind of offline tournament setting practice, if you only have four events a year to really do that, and let's be real, two of those events are going to be in a completely different continent that's going to cost thousands of dollars to travel to, uh, you probably realistically have two chances during the year. So if you're in North America this year, it was Austin and also Montreal. And if you're in Europe, it was Jönköping and Valencia, which were actually very close together as well. So you train hard, you show up at this event or one of these events, and suddenly all offline LAN jitters and everything are in your face. You're in group stage one. Oftentimes, if you are just somebody that people don't know the name of, you just get seated straight into, like, a bracket with T Drogo and, like, Cyril or something, or you'll just get some, or maybe not Cyril because it's only people who don't qualify through group stage 3, but still there's always some very good players that are at the top of each one of their respective scenes in that group stage 3, where they are just the hard favorites coming in. So it's really difficult because the stakes are very high immediately off the get-go. Group stage 3, like, basically you lose two matches and you're out. You're done with the entire tournament. Whatever money you paid for, which oftentimes will just be self-sponsored because you're an up-and-coming player, it's going to be kind of down the tube in a sense. You got a little bit of experience, but it is hard to turn maybe those two or even three series if you make it to the ace match or something and you beat some Diamond League player, whatever. Anything you get knocked out, it's hard to turn two or three series, maybe sometimes if you make it a group stage, two even, four series, into a really, really good learning experience for offline tournament settings and learning how to turn it into something more in the next event. It's possible. It's certainly possible, but it's difficult. And this is why having other events that kind of lead up to it, I think is really important. Having things like Cheese Adelphia, having things like Kings of the North gives a lot of those players experience. Yeah, sure. We had the latest Cheese Adelphia. We had True. We had Jon Snow. We had Masa. We had like Panda Bear and me. We had Semper. We had a lot of really top level players that would also probably stomp the faces of any up and comers that would be engaging against them. But the difference is you tend to have more chances in those kind of tournaments, and you get to make it further along and get that experience. I think that's really, really important, because if you don't get that experience in a sufficient amount, it's hard to, again, translate that into a learning experience where you are able to perform better. Maybe you get rid of some of those offline landers. Maybe you realize something core about your gameplay where you say, I just need to improve my macro. Or I just need to improve my micro. I was just getting completely out of micro. It's things like that you can take lessons from. But more often than not, I think it's about the offline tournament setting that you really learn about. You realize, oh, I need to maybe start thinking about like playing with my chair a little bit lower, like different heights, because I just felt so thrown off by the setup, or, just other small little details of in that kind of setting. Like I realized that I had to use earphones instead of the earbuds, and that really threw me off. Those kinds of things are really important. And because of that, I think that these sort of events really help players that are coming up in the scene get the experience so that they can get breakout performance, so that they can continue to improve and find that motivation as well. I mean, saying I finished in group stage 3 of a WCS event, or sorry, group stage 1 of a WCS event, like I got knocked out immediately, versus I made round of 16 at Cheese Adelphia or something. That feels a lot better. Yeah, you know what? The competition just straight up is going to be a lot more difficult at a WCS event, but there's a lot of value in that in terms of motivation. So I feel like there are all these very important factors for these smaller offline events. And of course, this also goes in a similar way for online events. I mentioned at the beginning that I want to talk about online events as well, but I sort of dodged it a little bit, saying, it's not an offline event. I feel like online events also do the same thing for the smaller offline events. It's kind of a feeding system. You always talk about, actually, even before the online tournament stuff, it's actually the ladder. And you hear about this kind of feeder system in a small degree, where you have the ladder heroes. And I'm not talking about the tournament I run. I'm talking about like just people who are grinding it out on the ladder. They're getting better and better until finally they hit a point where they're like, yeah, you know what? I feel like I'm actually pretty good. I'm like in Grandmaster or whatever. Like I just got there. I feel like I could actually, maybe take a game off of some of these like slightly better players. Maybe I won't beat Neeb or anything, or God, even some of the like top players in North America like Jon Snow or Masa or something. But I can probably maybe make a deep run to like a semifinals with the right bracket, or like the quarterfinals. Maybe I can get a little bit of cash, like $12.50, like $20 for a third, fourth place, something like that. And that's when they start entering these online tournaments, and they start get better at the competition. They realize the intricacies of best of 3, best of 5. They learn how to play in that setting. And then from there, they start taking that experience to the offline event, the small offline event. They learn all the things about LAN, and that's when they get to take it to WCS. It's a big feeder system for learning lessons. And right now, I think that we have actually a pretty strong online tournament scene, that I will say. We have an okay-ish grand finals thing. The WCS stuff, there's a lot of money involved in it. I would love to see more events, but, such is life. That costs a lot of money, is not in something that is in my hands or anything like that. But what I think that we lack a little bit more of, and we've gotten better about it for sure. I think that especially in the North American scene, we've got more of these smaller offline LAN events. But I really do think that they could use even more support. I think that we could have more of them. It not only keeps like the semi-pros busy, but it also gives the pros something else to attend and go to and get their own form of practice and keep their own motivation in the game a little bit more alive. So I think that if there's one thing I want to say for 2018, I want to see not just the community, but also even Blizzard as well. Like I want to see more investment into is that kind of smaller offline LAN tournament scene, that sort of third step between ladder, online tournament, and then you have this small offline events that feed into the WCS system. Because I feel like that is the place that you can invest into. And I've talked about this before, I think, where I think that that is one of the places where if you invest into, you're potentially going to be creating WCS events of tomorrow, like 2018, 2019. 2018 is a little bit too close, so probably 2019 or something, where maybe you do have these big organizations actually running WCS events and all kinds of cool stuff like that. Which would be amazing. That'd be awesome. Suddenly, it's not just DreamHack and IEM or ESL. It's, maybe Cheesedelphia, maybe it's Kings of the North, maybe it's you even have like maybe not Take TV. I don't think that's really in Take TV's wheelhouse. Maybe they would be interested, but I feel like Home Story Cup is what I'm thinking of. Probably not the right format for WCS. I like Home Story Cup for what it is, but still, there's this potential for growing new tournament organizers and also growing new players, which I think is something that a lot of people are concerned about for the future of StarCraft, that there aren't going to be many new up-and-coming names. There are a few. There are actually definitely a few, but a lot of those people have also been around for a while, and the longer that this kind of situation goes on, the longer you haven't really come up in the scene as you give your all for it, the harder it is to justify that you can really invest a lot more time into it and to continue to try and get better or travel out for these events. So that's what I want to say about what I hope people consider doing and investing into in the next year. I think I'll note that a lot of these smaller offline LAN events end up having matcherino pages and donation things open. I will actually be attending Kings of the North, which is another one where I think that there's, as of the recording of this right now, if you watch it, I don't think the matches have been played out, but there's even some up-and-coming players like Buster, who managed to qualify for the playoffs season of Kings of the North and has a chance at, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, a little bit of a slim chance right now, but he has a chance at making to the offline LAN portion of it, which is awesome. And having more stuff like that would be great. And of course, there's a matcherino page for that as well. I'll try and add a link into the description of the YouTube thing. But yeah, hopefully you guys check that out and support some offline LAN events in StarCraft. Thank you all so much for tuning in. The update today is that today I will be doing hosting a special, aka Major versus Penguin, best of 39 kind of. The kind of is because Major has to win 20 games, but Penguin only has to win 5. Major's playing from Korea, and Penguin's playing from North America, and we're going to be playing on the North American server. So a lot of things going in Penguin's favor, but it's still Penguin versus Majors. In a normal circumstance, Penguin get crushed. But Penguin is very insistent that because of the lag from Korea to North America, he can take 5 games off of Major, no problem. So we'll see how this goes. I'm looking forward to that. Besides that, I'm going to be out this weekend, heading home, spending time with some family. I'll be casting Kings of the North in October. It's like October 14th or something. And then I will be at BlizzCon, so say hi. But yeah, have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys next time. Keep StarCrafting.